The lights exploded into life as the opening episode of Britain's Got Talent 2025 began, the familiar roar of the crowd filling the theater with anticipation. Judges exchanged playful banter, the audience buzzing with excitement as hopeful performers took to the stage one by one. Then came a moment no one expected. A slim, shy-looking contestant walked out, dressed simply, introducing himself with a soft voice that barely carried across the auditorium. He spoke about growing up listening to classic rock, about dreaming big in a small bedroom, and about how music was his escape. The judges smiled politely, not yet sensing what was about to happen. The backing track began with a gentle piano intro, and as soon as he opened his mouth, the atmosphere shifted completely. His voice was powerful, elastic, and commanding, soaring effortlessly through the theater. Within seconds, the audience gasped. There was something unmistakably familiar yet thrillingly new in his sound. He moved across the stage with natural confidence, playing to the crowd, lifting his arms and commanding attention as if he had done this his entire life. The judges leaned forward in disbelief, exchanging shocked glances as the performance built into a dramatic, arena-filling climax. By the final note, the crowd was on its feet, cheering and chanting before the judges even had time to speak. One judge described him as a once-in-a-generation performer, another said his presence reminded them of rock legends who didn't just sing songs but owned stages. The boldest comment came when a judge said the words that instantly trended online, "You could be the next Freddie Mercury." The contestant stood frozen, overwhelmed, tears in his eyes as he received four emphatic yeses. Episode 1 ended with social media exploding, clips of the performance spreading worldwide within minutes. Episode 2 picked up the story with a deeper look into the singer's journey. Viewers were taken behind the scenes to his home, where posters of classic rock icons covered the walls and old vinyl records sat beside a worn piano. He spoke about his struggles with self-doubt, about being told his dreams were unrealistic, and about how he practiced endlessly to find his own voice rather than copy anyone else. Friends and family described how music transformed him, how he came alive when he sang. Back on the BGT stage, the pressure was immense. Expectations were sky-high, and the judges openly admitted they were nervous for him. This time, he chose an original song, a bold move that showcased not just his vocal power but his songwriting ability. The performance started quietly, intimate and emotional, before erupting into a theatrical rock anthem filled with dramatic pauses, falsetto runs, and commanding high notes. He interacted with the audience, encouraging them to clap along, proving that his stage presence was no accident. As the final chorus rang out, the crowd erupted once more, louder than before. The judges were visibly emotional, praising his authenticity and courage. One judge said he wasn't just chasing the shadow of a legend but carving out his own identity. Another called him a future global star. By the end of episode 2, it was clear that this was more than just a promising audition. A star was being born, and Britain's Got Talent 2025 had found a performer capable of uniting generations, reigniting the spirit of rock, and reminding the world what true showmanship looks like. Episode 3 opened with the tension rising as the competition moved deeper into the live rounds. The singer who had already been dubbed the next Freddie Mercury was now facing the reality of expectation. Backstage cameras captured him pacing quietly, humming scales under his breath, eyes closed as he tried to block out the noise of the crowd. He admitted that for the first time, fear was creeping in, not of failure, but of letting people down. When his name was called, the roar from the audience was thunderous, proof that he had already become one of the season's most talked about acts. This time, he stepped onto the stage wearing a bold, theatrical outfit, a clear nod to classic rock flamboyance, yet styled in a modern way that felt uniquely his own. The performance began with dramatic lighting and a slow build, his voice low and controlled, drawing the audience in. As the song progressed, his confidence visibly grew. He used the entire stage, engaging with the band, the cameras, and the audience, delivering powerful high notes that echoed through the theater. Midway through the performance, he held a long, sustained note that seemed to suspend time itself, prompting spontaneous applause before the song had even ended. The judges' reactions were electric. One called it a masterclass in live performance, praising not just the vocal range but the emotional storytelling. Another said he had proven that his audition wasn't a one-off moment of magic, but the beginning of something serious. The public vote reflected that sentiment, pushing him comfortably through to the next round. As he walked off stage, visibly relieved, the cameras caught him whispering that he was finally starting to believe he belonged there. Episode 4 raised the stakes even higher with a themed challenge designed to push contestants out of their comfort zones. The singer revealed he would be tackling a stripped-back arrangement, removing the big theatrics and focusing purely on voice and emotion. Backstage, he spoke honestly about his worries, saying that without the spectacle, there would be nowhere to hide. When he appeared on stage, the set was minimal, a single spotlight and a piano, the atmosphere quiet and intimate. From the first note, it was clear this performance would be different. His voice was softer, more vulnerable, filled with subtle emotion rather than explosive power. The audience listened in near silence, hanging on every word. As the song unfolded, his control became the highlight, delicate phrasing, gentle falsetto, and a raw honesty that made the performance deeply personal. By the final line, his voice cracked slightly, not from weakness, but from emotion, and the moment felt heartbreakingly real. The reaction was immediate and overwhelming. Many in the audience were wiping away tears, and even the judges appeared stunned. One admitted they had underestimated him, saying this performance proved he was more than a showman, he was a true artist. Another said that this was the kind of performance that turns a contestant into a legacy act, someone remembered long after the season ends. When the voting results were announced, his name was met with cheers so loud they drowned out the host's voice. By the end of episode 4, his journey had taken on new depth. He was no longer just the contestant compared to a legend, but a performer building his own story, balancing power with vulnerability. The narrative had shifted from surprise to belief, and the question was no longer whether he could live up to the comparison, but how far his talent could take him. Britain's Got Talent 2025 felt transformed by his presence, and the competition now revolved around whether anyone could rise to meet the standard he was setting.